Good morning, everyone. I am Mr. Nikko Chua, the second reporter for the Group 2. I'm going to report about the CVP analysis, margin of safety, sensitivity analysis, assumptions, and limitations. Margin of safety, it is the excess of budgeted sales over break-even sales. It's the amount by which sales can decline before losses occur. So it indicates by which the actual planned sales may be reduced without incurring a loss. This is the distance between what we call the break-even point and the actual sales. So in the middle is the safe line, which we call the margin of safety. So we have formula for the margin of safety. This is the actual sales or budgeted sales minus the break-even sales. So you can express the margin of safety in terms of units or peso or dollars or any currency. So here we can see, here is the break-even point and here is the sales. Then here is what we call the margin of safety. This is the distance here. So margin of safety ratio, margin of safety can be also expressed in ratio. So we have formula for that is margin of safety ratio, actual sales or budgeted sales minus break-even sales over the actual sales or budgeted sales times 100, or margin of safety over actual sales or budgeted sales times 100. So break-even sales means the sales amount that achieve the break-even point. So we have example here. So this is a case of per money company. So the budgeted sales here is 5,000 units or 50,000 pesos in the next period. Considering the company's break-even sales is 2,000 units or 20,000 pesos. So the margin of safety figures can be calculated as follows. So for the margin of safety in peso, sabi pa nga natin kanina, actual sales or budgeted sales minus the break-even sales. So 50,000 minus 20,000 is equals to 30,000. That is our margin of safety for peso. And margin of safety in units naman, 5,000 units minus 2,000 units is equal to 3,000 units. Margin of safety ratio naman, our margin of safety, which is 30,000 over 50,000, our budgeted sales times 100, that is equals to 60%. So the margin of safety size is important indicator of the business vitality. In order to improve the margin of safety, or the following step may be undertaken. So sabi natin, this is the distance where we can say na we can still have profit, because if magbaba siya sa break-even point natin, it means you are incurring loss. So our way is to increase the selling price of our product and in every unit po. Then reduce variable costs like mga material. Kapag masyadong expensive, you can reduce it. Then reduce fixed costs. For example, mga kung ang rental mo sa place or sa mga other fixed costs like advertisement, ganyan. Change the product mix and improve efficiency and productivity. We have this other formula in MOS. Sales is equals to MS or margin of safety plus BES is break-even sales. So meron din dito break-even ratio. Then here. So let's proceed with the problem. For let's assume that NARC company has fixed cost of 15,000 peso, a margin safety of 20% and contribution margin of 30%. So from this available information, we can determine the break-even sales, actual sales or planned sales, and actual sales or actual or planned profit. So let's solve for the A rather. So BES, so break-even sales is equals to fixed cost over CMR. This is what we call the contribution margin ratio. So yung fixed cost natin daw is 15,000 given over the 30% na contribution margin ratio. And we have 50,000 pesos. For B naman, actual or planned sales, if MO margin of safety ratio is equals to 20 sa formula natin kanina, then break-even sale ratio is equals to 1 minus 20%, that is 80%. That is our BESR. So sales can be computed as sales is equals to BES over BESR. So ang sales natin kanina sa A is 50,000 over the break-even sales ratio, that is 62,500. So the actual, and that is the B. Actual or planned profit naman, so sa actual plan sales, 62,500. Then CMR natin, that is 30%, that is given. Contribution margin natin, kapag i-times natin siya, we will have 18,750. So minus the fixed cost, that is 15,000, we will have the profit of 3,750. So sensitivity analysis. So this is what we call what if. What if there is a change, or what this is the technique to estimate the profit or loss, the sales, costs, volumes, or underlying assumption change. So allows manager to see how various strategy will affect how much profit will the company will make, and thus power managers with better information on decision making. So here po. So the factors that affecting profit is the selling price profit, variable costs per unit, volume or number of unit, fixed cost, and the sales mix. So here is the underlying change in underlying factors. So let's assume this data of per May company. Selling price of 10 peso, unit variable cost of 4 peso, total fixed cost of 12,000 peso, and budgeted sales of 5,000 units. So using this data given, so we will use this formula: sales less the variable cost margin is equals to contribution margin less the fixed cost and is equals to profit. So here, how to get the sales, the total sales, we will multiply the 5,000 units with the selling price, that is 10 peso. We will have this 50,000 peso. Then minus or subtracted with variable cost, that is 5,000 budgeted sales times the units 4 peso na variable cost per unit, that is 20,000 peso. So i-subtract natin, we will have 30,000 peso. Sa ratio naman 100% siya, minus the 40% na variable cost, we will have 60% sa contribution margin, that is 30,000. Then less the fixed cost 12,000, then 12,000 is the sales, so contribution margin less the fixed cost, that is 12,000, which is 24% in ratio, or 2. Sa peso per unit po natin, we can see here 10 peso ang selling price minus 4 peso na variable cost, we have 6 peso na contribution margin. Then sa fixed cost naman po, we will have 2.40 peso. So sa profit natin, all in peso, that is 18,000. In ratio, that is 36% and 3.6 per unit. So break-even point natin po, ang formula natin is fixed cost over the contribution margin. We will have the break-even point. In peso, 12,000 over 60% is equals to 20,000. And for per unit naman po, 12,000 over 6 peso is equals to 2,000 units. So what if nag-change po tayo sa price? So assuming that we increase 2 peso, that is 20%. So we will have this 120%. So the selling price now will be 12 peso. Still, mananatili po tayo ang variable cost natin 4 peso. Ang total fixed cost natin is 12,000 and the budgeted sales natin is still 5,000. So mag-change lang, ang 50,000 kanina magiging mali po ito. That is dapat 12 peso to. that is 60,000. Then magiging 12 peso per unit. Sorry po, ikaw na lang natin to. Then in ratio, that is 120%, less the variable cost, still 20,000. That is medyo na kung dito. Wait lang pa. 40, that is 80% po ito. 80% dapat, then 8 peso. So, kung lang natin, ayusin lang natin konti. 80%. So, 80% siya. Then, ito is 12 peso. So, 80 minus 24, we will have okay po. So, contribution margin natin na 60,000 minus 20,000, that is 40,000 minus again the fixed cost 12,000 it is equal to 18,000 peso. So sa ratio naman 120 kasi nag-increase tayo ng 20% minus the 40%, that is 80%, minus 24% ng fixed cost, that is profit natin is 68% po. Sa peso naman po, since nag-increase tayo sa selling price, we will have 12 peso minus the 4 peso na what we call this variable cost, that is 8 peso for the contribution margin. Still, the fixed cost per unit, that is 2.40. That we will have profit per unit is 5 peso 0.60. So here is the changes from the original. So sa peso po dito 10,000 po ang nag-increase. Then increase in 20%, dito po sa contribution margin natin nag-increase ng 33.33 and sa profit natin nag-increase ng 56.56. Okay. So sa break-even point naman po, ang break-even point natin is 12,000 the fixed cost over the 66.67 na contribution margin, that is 18,000. Wait lang, parang may mali. So, pardon for the interruption po. So, kanina may mali lang po sa ating ratio, that is 100% minus 33.33% is equals to 66.67% for the contribution margin, then 20% for the fixed cost, and profit natin is 46.67 percent. So here is the nag-increase po tayo ng 20% sa sales, sa contribution margin, that is 33.33%, and sa fixed cost naman, sa profit rather is 53.33%. So here sa break-even naman po, sa pagkuha natin break-even point sa peso, 12,000 over 67.67, that is 18,000, lesser than the 20,000 kanina, then 12,000 divided by 8 peso, that is 1,500 units, that is lesser than the 500 units. So let's go with the changes in the variable cost. So kanina, changes in the selling price. Now let's assume that there's an increase in the variable cost. And that is 0.80, that is 4.80 na po ang ating variable cost. Ibalik natin ang selling price, that is 10 peso. So assuming that there is an increase of 20% in the variable cost. So in peso, nandito po yung 50,000. There is ito po 4.80 na po ang ating variable cost, that is 24,000. Kanina po that is 20,000 lang, ngayon is 24,000. 50,000 minus or subtracted with 24,000 is 26,000, then subtracted with the fixed cost 12,000 as is, we will have a profit of 14,000. So here's the changes from the original. In peso, nag-increase po tayo ng 4,000, pero sa contribution margin, nag-decrease tayo ng 4,000. So there is an increase of 20% in from the original. So then dito po sa contribution margin, nag-decrease po tayo ng 13.33, And sa profit naman po, nag-decrease rin tayo ng 4,000 and 22.22%. So sa pag-total po sa break-even, katulad kanina, so ating contribution margin percentage, that is, or CMR, that is 52%. So 12,000 yung ating profit ay ating less fixed cost deducted by over 52%, that is 23,076.90. So there is an increase of 3,076.90. Then 12,000 over 5.20, that is the contribution margin per unit. So we will have 307.69 or 2,308 so per unit. So there is an increase of 300 unit. So sa change in volume naman, kapag nag-increase tayo ng number in units. So assuming that we have an increase of 1,000 in the unit. So from 5,000 we will have 6,000. That is increase in 20%. So selling price, ganun pa rin. Ang variable cost, that is wait lang. So as we can see here po, there is an increase in the units of number of units, 1,000, as is po ang iba, variable cost and fixed cost, selling price. So we will have this 6,000 na po. Then ito-total natin 6,000 times 10, 60,000 of ang sales. Then variable cost natin 4 peso times 60,000, 24,000. Pag i-subtract natin siya, we will have this 36,000. Then fixed cost, that is 12,000 pa rin. 36 minus 12, that is 24,000. So ito po yung ratio natin. So 100 minus 40, we will have this 60%, then minus or subtracted with 20%, that is 40%. So per unit po natin, ganun pa rin, as is pa rin po yung per unit natin. So ito po, nag-increase po tayo sa sales ng 10,000, sa variable cost ng 4,000, sa contribution margin ng 6,000, that is 20% po, and sa profit ng 6,000. So 33 . So sa break-even point po, 12,000 over 60%, that is equals to 20,000. Same pa rin po yung sa una nating sa original natin, and 12,000 over 6 peso, that is 2,000 units. Same pa rin po next time. So what if po nag-increase sa fixed cost? So there's an increase on the fixed cost. So from 12,000 gagawin po nating 14,400. So kapag gagawin natin, as is pa rin po yung selling price, units, variable cost, sa budgeted sales, so 14,000 na po ang ating 14,400. So increase tayo ng 20%. So ganun pa rin po ang ating sales. Ang sales natin, sales natin is 5,000 na po ang per unit. Then we will have this similar kanina, pero mag-change lang po ang fixed cost natin. So we will have 28.80% for the ratio of our fixed cost. So there is an increase of 2,400 in the fixed cost, 20%. Ang profit natin po is mag-decrease tayo ng 2,400 and 13. Ito ay decrease of 13.33%. So dito po, pero ang kuha natin dito 14,400 over 60%, that is the contribution margin. We will have 24,000. Yung kanina po is 20,000 yung original natin. So there is an increase in change of 4,000. Then in units, 14,400. over sa 6 peso na contribution margin, we will have 2,400 units. Then sa 2,000, may increase po tayo ng 400 units. So, yun po. So, ito po ay kapag mayroon tayong sa changes in the sales mix, tinatawag natin sales mix. Kapag may changes po tayo sa sales mix, paano po yan? So, ikukuha lang natin yung natin kanina. Per may corporation pa rin po tayo. So, from 3 to 1, from 1 to 3, 1 to 3 po to siya, to 3 to 1. Wait lang po ha. Okay, sorry for the delay. So from 1 to 3, originally from 1 to 3 to 3 to 1. From 3 to 1 to 1 to 3 pala po. To, ganyan. So ito po yung original natin. 3 to 1, we will have 50 for the mixed sales mix ratio. Ito lang po yung kailangan natin. Ang per unit nito at ito. So we will have this 3 to 1 ratio, that is 4 peso times 3, that is 12 peso per sale. Sa B, sa E naman is 9 peso times 2, that is 18. Then 10 peso times 1, that is 10 is equals to 40 sa original. Pero kapag there's an exchange, for example, ang B is naging 1, ang E is still 2, but ang L naging 3. So, i-times po natin, 1 times 4 is, 4 times 1 is equals to 4, 9 times 2 is equals to 18, then 10 times 3, that is 13, is equals to 52 peso po. So, 52 peso. So, the change there is 12 peso. So, there is an increase po. So, pag solve natin dyan is fixed cost over composite contribution margin. So, tingnan natin yung sa first. That is 40,000. Yung sabi pa nga dito, 40,000. 40,000 po yung natin, ang total fixed cost over the composite CM natin, composite CM. Ano po yung composite CM? Ito po yung composite CM natin, 40 peso. So we will have for 1,000 units. Yung sa bago po, yung sa changes natin, that is 52 peso, 40,000 over 52 peso, we will have 769.23 units. So there is a change of 230.77 units. So let's proceed po sa assumptions and limitation in CVP po. So assumptions and limitation. So assumptions and limitations of CVP, we are all assuming that all costs are classifiable as either fixed or variable. So hindi po, not all the time. It may vary, it may change po. Fixed costs remain constant within the relevant range. So possible siya but not all the time because pwede mag-change po yung rent, yung advertising expense, ganyan po sa costing. So behavior of the revenue and total cost will be linear over the relevant range. Mag-depend po siya sa demand pa rin. So assumption lang po ito. So mag-differ pa rin siya. There will be changes pa rin po. In the case of multiple products, companies selling price, cost, and proportion of unit sales sold will not change. So probably meron pa rin changes. For example, sa selling price, kapag nag-increase ang prices sa selling prices or sa production, ganyan, sa costing, ito po. So may changes pa rin. There is no significant change in the inventory levels during the period under review. Then other assumptions such as the unit selling price will remain constant. Hindi po mag-remain constant. Magdepende pa rin po siya sa variable cost natin. Baka nagmahal ang variable cost ngayon or nagmura. So mga expenses natin for the variable. Ganyan. The unit cost will not change. So kakasabi ko lang po, possible po mag-change ang variable cost. Depende po sa ating mga suppliers. So there will be no changes in efficiency and productivity. Depende po sa labor power natin. So the design of the product will not change. It depends on the time, it depends on the company. So yun po ang CVP, assumption and limitations of CVP. Thank you for listening po.